Are you concerned about all this corruption being misgendered as conspiracies? Well, don't you worry. Sit back, relax, and join in the conversation as we talk with today's guest. Welcome to another LSB Film Productions podcast with your host, Chris Brooks.
Hello and welcome to the channel. It's me, Chris Brooks, for another LSB Film podcast. Today I'm joined with David James. Now, David James has, he's got quite a story. Some of it we can't divulge yet because of obvious reasons, but there are going to be other podcasts where more information is going to be made available. So we're kind of just going to be covering the basics here on the ground. David is going to talk to us about his experience with the birth certificate and the mutual securities fraud, which is something that he's discovered since having to take his boy out of his mother's care for the reasons we're going to find out. So welcome to the show, David.
Lovely. Thank you, Chris.
Was that okay?
Yep.
Okay.
That's absolutely perfect.
The worst thing I find with these podcasts are the introductions because I always fluff them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, cool.
No, perfect. Absolutely perfect. Yeah, couldn't come off from a better place. Not so long ago, I was unfortunately forced to remove my son from mother's care because of her historic violence and drink problem. Now, it all seemed quite straightforward at first, and then really what I did after taking him, just as a matter of courtesy only, I contacted the two people that you would immediately think of in case mother had phoned up and sort of wanted to communicate that fact and protest it. So really, so that they knew what was going on. So I contacted the police and the so-called children and family services in Bournemouth, being run under one Sean Searle. I spoke to people on the phone and they said, well done, excellent, that's fantastic, we understand, you've done the right thing. Did the same with the police, and they didn't really know why I'd called them at first. They'd initially asked me whether there was any harm caused or anything like that. I said, no, the idea of my removing him was literally to prevent any of that. And he said, no, that's fine, well done, thank you very much for letting us know. That was it. That was done. Beyond that, it's not any of their concern whatsoever. They don't have any authority or jurisdiction to interfere any further than that. There was no harm caused. I have since had two police came to the property to make sure that my son was okay, and they saw that he was okay, absolutely fine. That was that. Shortly after, a social worker named Josephine was sent round to sort of do some sort of follow-up, or really under the guise of doing some sort of follow-up. As I discover now, they just seem to like to bury themselves in your life unlawfully. They spoke to Sam, so all right. He said that he was happy, wanted to remain with me, explained why he didn't want to be anywhere near his mother. That still remains to this day.
How old is your boy?
13.
13.
Yeah.
So old enough to be able to make a decision, really.
Yeah, he's incredibly smart. So he's aware. It's not like he's little and doesn't really know what's going on. Really, after that, there was sort of offered help, and I said no, thank you very much. I said I'm more than capable of looking after my son, as I have done since I cut his umbilical cord. Thank you very much. And then it really began from there. It was one phone call after another, Meanwhile, in the background, I think mother had protested and in a complete state of denial and applied for custody. Legalese term there, by the way, people. Legalese term. Do not use it. Do not allow it to be used.
What, custody?
Custody. Yeah, you're not in custody. You are not a guardian. You're not a carer
or a parent.
You are mother and also father. But go careful how that is written, how it's presented to you. We're going to go into that as we go on, very in depth. And they just interfered and kept pressing and pressing unlawfully, and made one excuse for another. And then they sort of came along one day to do this during this home visit. And the idea really of them being there is to deliberately and willfully find as many problems so that they can get involved in your life. You know, going around finding a piece of dust and saying something like, "Oh my God, he lives in a completely awful, disgusting hovel," so that they can come in and get involved in your life further. They are criminals. They are criminally corrupt. And I would advise any man or woman out there at the moment, if you've got any kind of problem whatsoever, do not, under any circumstances whatsoever, involve these people. Do not speak to them. Do not initially speak to them on the phone. Do not go to them. Do not go to the police unless it's absolutely necessary, unless there's threat of immediate harm, genuine immediate harm. Stay away from them. Avoid them.
Because much like the police, don't they have quotas?
It is possible. I've not investigated them to
Okay,
that
that's what
level.
I've heard. They have quotas on how many children that they can remove from a family.
It wouldn't surprise me, but being that there is no other way to put it. These people are trafficking, is what they're doing, and it's not just a single entity that's doing the trafficking. It's they call themselves MASH, I think it's multi-agency support hub. You could gloss it in any way you want. Molestation and sexual harassment department, or whatever you want. Yeah, they're criminals basically, and it's not until you realize how and why these people are connected and what they're doing, you realize what's going on.
I don't really know what to say to that.
Yeah, shocking.
It's
shocking because
not surprising, but it's still shocking.
The worst bit about it is that when you go into this and you realize what's going on, the shocking part is that these are apparently supposed to be people that are in the most trusted positions. The people that you go to when you need help, and to find out what's going on in the background is enough to, it undermines your faith in the entire system, and rightly so when you realize the magnitude of what I'm going to share with you over time and what it affects, which is literally everything. There is nothing that this does not touch.
No,
Quite
I
literally.
believe it, yeah.
From education to policing to law, quote unquote. It's not really law. Law is not a word. It's an acronym. It stands for the 3 jurisdictions: land, air, and water.
Correct.
They are off over there operating in water, Admiralty Maritime Law. They have no business being on the land, the common law. What they have done is criminal.
We're all dead at sea.
Dead in the water.
Yeah. Shocking.
It is shocking. It is shocking. And it's been, the thing is with this subject on the birth certificate for a long time, I think this is an important thing to bring out to people right now. It's been this sort of meme in the background, this little almost a conspiracy theory, because people haven't challenged it or looked into it enough. Many have come forward and said, "Oh yeah, well I've had a quick look at this. I can't find anything." I said, "Well, if you haven't found anything, you haven't looked properly, or you are absolutely, completely, and utterly thick, because it's right in front of you." And it's real. It's real. It's absolutely 100% real, as I am about to over a time show you. So it's got to come out. It's got to come out now. Now you've got to fight it.
Yeah, absolutely. So where's your boy now? Is he still with you? Is he okay?
I'm not going to. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's absolutely fine. Well, during this process, when it started to become threatening and intimidating, the visits from this social services, these care people, and I eventually just turned around to him one day and said, "Look, I've told you a million times, leave me alone, leave us alone. We don't need your help. I'm more than capable of raising my son without your help. I've done it this far. I've made it this far in life without you. Please go away now. Go away. I don't have a contract with you. I don't have any agreements with you. I'm rescinding all agreements with you, any previous ones, assumed or otherwise. Leave us alone. And then, of course, they turned up the pressure. And I was discussing things with a few people. And in conversation, somebody said to me that if you don't mind, I'm going to share your situation with somebody else that might know something about this. And it ended up in the hands of an investigative group who then contacted me and made me aware of the birth certificate fraud, what they're doing, and why these behaviors were being seen. And after I was shown, it answered a lot of questions. In fact, it answered all the questions as to why these things are happening and how these people operate and what it's all based on. This, what appears to be one document, it's not one document, it's actually three.
So the one document being the birth certificate.
Well, there are three birth certificates. One you never see because that's sent straight off to Rome, in a different form. And then there are two others. There's the one, a form of information, and then there's the state birth certificate that you were given. But they're both similar documents, but they have different functions. And they place you in different
jurisdictions.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate. Offices is the correct term. One places you in what you could call the office of the debtor, and one places you in the office of the creditor.
And that's the one that ideally you'd want to be in, as the
Yes,
creditor?
but they don't tell you that. They, when where this thing seems to start is that as you're growing, you don't have any forms of identification. You didn't need any. But if you want to go and open a bank account, then they'll say to you, well, we're going to need a birth certificate. So off you toddle to the bank and say, I'd like to open a bank account. You go to open a bank account and they say, right, well, we need a copy of your birth certificate. So you toddle off, get a copy of their birth certificate. And with there, it used to be registry offices or courts at one point, I think at one point, and they ask you, what's your name and date of birth? Of course, you will give the date that you were born on and your name, or at least what you think is your name. And that's where the fraud starts, because it's at that moment that they're aware of the two certificates and where those two names lie. Pun intended. The birth certificate document itself, and they look reasonably the same. One will have your name on it. Or I haven't got these documents on it, but one will have your Christian name. It will have the sex and what's the family name. But these are not what they appear to be. One of these certificates, and this is where I'm going to need other bits and pieces with me, so that I can go into this and demonstrate this to you in another podcast, if that's all right.
Oh,
I'm going to need to do that. One looks like your name, but is actually a corporation that is set up unlawfully, criminally. At your birth, you're essentially murdered at birth on paper. And your mother and father do not know about this.
And this is the thing linked to your KV trust, or
Sesta KV. Yeah. Yeah. Again, we can go into that. But this is just a really an intro for you, so that your viewers have got a taste of this, and so we can go further, so that you can really get this into your minds as not being a meme. It's not a meme. It's not some funny story. It is genuine, and we have the material evidence to prove it. So one is created. It looks like your name. It is not you. It is a dead fiction. Some people call it a straw man. And there are other names for it as well. It's a corporation, and you are traded like on the stock exchange and different places with these mutual funds. And they can be found.
That, yeah.
And the other one, the other certificate, is a different one, and they look slightly different because the other one is actually um, held by the chief registrar, and it's actually written on it that where your name is. The trick is that they don't tell you which name you're about to claim when you claim that birth certificate. They don't tell your mother and father. So you're either claiming the name that he has, and this is written on it, in his custody, or you're claiming your true Christian name that your mother and father gave you. And you were tricked into believing that they are one and the same. They are not. One is the one that he has in his custody, and that is the corporate fiction.
The person.
The persons, corporations, fictions. But you will live the rest of your life if you don't figure it out, thinking that that name on that certificate is actually you, your family name. It looks like it. It's not
So,
you.
so for anyone who's watching this, who, I don't know, maybe they're pregnant or the wife's pregnant or whatever, what would you suggest? Would you suggest A, just not registering the birth at all?
You can do that, but I think there's a lot that seems to happen in the background as well. Being as there's three versions of this, one that goes off in the background. Um, I could go into more detail here, but then we're going to be going off at a tangent and sort of racing ahead. Um, I need to actually demonstrate that to you and your audience. Um, yeah, you can say I'm not registering. You've got every right to say no, I'm not having register. And what's the point of it anyway? I mean,
Well, it
really,
just seems that
what is
that's
the
where all
point?
the problems start from. So
It is. It is
the
literally where this
logical
problem
way of
starts from.
thinking would to be not do that. But then obviously I don't know how that child then goes through life without being able to get a
Right.
blood type.
Child means dead anyway. It's dead. If you're a child, you're dead, which is why it says on your birth certificate, child at the top.
Okay.
An adult, that means adulterer. You're an adulterer because you are an adulterer to Christ. You've abandoned your Christian name and chosen the name of the dead fiction that was in the custody of the superintendent registrar. Obviously, you didn't
Okay.
know that.
No.
And you weren't given the option, which is a breach of the 2006 Fraud Act, the 1833 Slavery Abolition Act, the 2015 Modern Slavery Act. Deception, legal entrapment, embezzlement, slavery. I could go on and
I
on
know
and
it's
on
just
and on. The consequences of this. This is one of the reasons they've kept this, and they've done an extremely good job of, um,
hiding the truth.
yeah, of hiding it. An extreme. In fact, it's actually a masterful job of hiding it. So much so that I would almost say it's nearly the perfect crime, nearly. And in their own words, these people have actually got it written. I'm not sure whether I can find this here. Again, I can. This is something that I can maybe better for. Um, oh, another podcast, and you see, I'm gonna just attempt to find this. There was something. Yeah, I'll leave it. Let me leave that one. I don't want to race ahead and confuse anyone. Um, yeah, it is. I've got to give it to them. Hats off to you, scumbags. You're going down and coming after you. I'm going to make sure that everyone knows about this. Uh, it wasn't such a perfect crime, but in their own words, which I will demonstrate and show to you all at some point, they said only 1 in 1 million men will figure this out.
And you're the one in the million.
No, I'm not the 1 in 1 million. I've actually got to take my hat off to, um, from what I know now, a group of extremely dedicated researchers who not only, suspected this was more than a meme, but actually set out to find the material evidence and proof that it was in fact true. And it is. It's a crime like any other.
Mm. So how long do you think it's going to be before justice is served on these people, if you can call them people.
Public awareness is really, really important on this one. Is first of all, get it into your mind so that it's not some meme, it's not some conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy, yes. Theory, no.
Absolutely, individuals have conspired. That's what that means. A conspiracy. It's no longer it's not a theory, and a conspiracy is a conspiracy of one or more people coming together, making a decision to affect certain actions, affect certain things, make certain decisions, make certain plans.
Yeah. And I'm sure the Freemasons are heavily involved in this as well.
We can go into that later. That would see, it's easy to jump down rabbit holes and which you've got to find a lot of this, deep ones. But to just sort of brand that title on there, no, it wouldn't actually be accurate. There is involvement.
But at a much
yes,
higher
absolutely.
levels.
Yeah, it's a different level. But yes, there is involvement with these organizations. Well, this is the thing with secrets and secret societies. Nothing good can come of it. If something is going to be public, it needs to be out in the open. Why would, when you've got so many of these people that are in positions of authority that are in these secret societies, why is it that chief constables are 33rd degree Masons?
Yeah. See, I don't know if you've seen any of the podcasts that I've done with Len Lawrence. Shout out to Len, who was the ex-pilot who whistle blew on the toxic gas air that was coming into the cabin cockpits, and so he's now got like a brain injury, a bad brain injury, and they tried to silence him. They went down the mental health route, and his ex-wife was involved, and they tried to section him, and there was so much Freemason involvement in the police and the judges and that. But like he said, there were also a lot of good Freemason people who helped who helped him. So I understand that it's not a one size fits all, but they are intrinsically involved at the higher echelons of their group.
Yes, there is. There's absolutely involvement there, and then that's how they keep their little secrets and operate their criminal enterprise. Yeah, and absolutely, all clerks, judges, justices, or so-called maggots, parasites, absolute maggots and parasites, because when you are, say, for example, called into a court, it's not you they're calling into the court, it's the birth certificate. And of course, you, poor sap, John Henry Doe to court one, you will walk in thinking that you're John Henry Doe, and of course, he's not talking to you whatsoever. He's talking to the birth certificate.
So is it because obviously a summons is where you're summoning the dead, so a court summons.
Or summon from the sea.
Some people say that you just shouldn't attend the court. You should just ignore it.
No, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, once you understand this and you've got this into your mind, you understand that every single communication that's, ones that you don't instigate yourself. If there's something, a product, a service, or something else out there that you want, the thing is, this runs so deep, it's very hard to actually get any service that requires that information that will provide it to you lawfully, using your correct name. They want this information, and there's many people that don't understand what it was. They're not. There's some people, and I will just say some, at the bottom levels, say, I don't know, a mail order catalog provider will want those details for you. But it's all there anyway, because it all starts with the bank.
Yeah.
So all the banks are involved straight off.
Well, I think that it is, like you say, it is all about the banks. Like we talked about on the phone the other day about the bar guild. Well, guild or bar means bank in Latin, or bench means bank.
Bench. That's right. They sit on the bench.
So it is all a theatre act, just about transferring of wealth, really.
That's it. It is the biggest transfer of wealth and it's been going on for a very long time, from what I can see. That's exactly what it is. It's all about the money, thieving from people, and worse. It's worse It's one thing to come out and directly rip somebody off and not care. Uh, but then to do it in the way that they've done it, tricking you into believing that you are this title, which is why I never answer to that title. Not now I know what it is.
What, as in Mister?
Oh, Mr. The military title. There's a military council, dead
The
Roman
lowest,
military
the lowest
council.
rung.
Mr., Miss, Mrs., Ms., and the GC Bar Association and their corrupt cabal's new version, MX.
Never
We can
heard
go
that
into
one.
all of that and another time, their new one, yeah. So
What happens? Because I know, like, some people put VC before their name, so that just means under duress.
under duress, yeah.
So they say whenever you fill out any of these forms, always put VC, then your name.
Oh, well, that's if you're being forced.
Yeah, and then like
You can, but
male and
the fraud
female.
continues. This is it. The fraud continues then. Even if you're say you can't own this title. This title is not yours. This corporate title that's been created unlawfully and criminally. It is not yours. It is not your name. It does not belong to you. You cannot take it. And you do not want to hold it. You do not want to be a holder of any of these titles. They are not yours.
So when it comes to filling forms online, then, because sometimes it doesn't give you an option. So
That's right.
I'm
What's
always
your title?
conscious of that. I'm always conscious of that.
Yeah.
So it's like, do I pick doctor? Do I pick? I don't know.
Right, Professor, Doctor, Mr., Mrs., or I prefer not to say. Some of them have, but they force you into this title, and I've no doubt that these are, these online forms, which is where they're steering everybody to be online for everything. That it's deliberate. There's no need for any of it.
Even
And
like
the system sort of
female.
sticks out when you really look at it, when you actually look at the way that things have been constructed. The entire system is what I call a Heath Robinson, if you know what that is.
No.
Is that he's a 40s, 50s inventor. He would do little cartoons as well in there of his inventions. They'd be in the paper. Of a device that would wake you up in the morning. It would be some contraption that probably took about 3 months to make to perform one simple task. And it got commonly known as the Heath Robinson because of his complicated contraptions. And everything you do nowadays, you've got to jump over one hurdle after another. You've got to go through this process. You need this piece of paper. You need that paper. It's just chaos. It's absolute chaos to perform the most simplest of tasks. Most
Bit
of
like
this.
Wallace out of Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, exactly. There's another good analogy. Yeah, exactly. But it's all deliberate.
Mm.
It's all deliberate, all of it. And also to force you into that title. Well, I will not accept that title. It's a fraudulent criminal title. I'm not going to accept it. You're breaking the law.
Same with male and female.
Well, that's the animal. Yeah.
You're as a human,
Man or a woman.
Even bloody human word is corrupted, isn't it? But,
yeah.
You're even masculine or feminine.
Right. Yeah.
When
You're a man,
referring to
a woman,
us.
or one of the people.
Yeah.
That's it. A man or woman, or one of the people. You're not a Mr. You're not a Sir. You're the Miss, Ms., Mrs.
Master.
And you're not master. Nope.
No.
Why would you want to be the master at arms?
Well, when you put it like that. But no.
Aboard the ship. The good ship.
I mean, you've got to hand it to them. They're absolutely, the way that they've pulled this number, it's like, you've got to hand it to them. They're blatant, but they're masterful deception.
It's incredibly clever.
Yeah.
And in some terms, it's right in front of you in a lot of the terminology, and and you've only got to look at this in simple terms. If a man or a woman wishes to seek lawful remedy, a man or woman should be able to move, claim, and court. Except he can't, because now the Bar Association, with their criminally corrupt cabal, are blocking men and women from accessing public courthouses. And they say, no, you've got to follow the rules of civil procedure. Well, sorry, Bar Association, that one's already been challenged, and we've got an FOI showing that the rules of civil procedure do not apply to men and women whatsoever. It does not apply to us.
What would you say about, I won't necessarily name him because then you've got the right to reply and all that stuff, but there's quite a popular YouTuber who's a barrister, and he always
Oh, I
says,
was just going to mention this guy.
and he always says that I've got no affiliation, or he says I'm independent, blah 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 blah. But they've all sworn an oath to the bar, haven't they?
He's a is he a hairless man that wears a lot of
Yes,
black?
yes. Let's
Okay.
just yeah.
Uh, would you prefer would you prefer me to say anything about that or not?
Yeah, go for it.
What, honestly and directly?
Yeah, if you want.
Okay, we're talking about the black belt bullshitter, basically, is what my mate calls him, and I think it's absolutely perfect. We're talking about a bar member. This is a bar member. Never trust a bar member. You know, it's like saying you're putting a group of axe murderers together and saying, well, maybe one of them's all right.
Mm.
No, they've sworn an oath outside that's got nothing to do with you. It's got nothing to do with lawful remedy whatsoever. They're members of a private society that we're not allowed to be part of
So
unless we
it's
join the
almost
bar
like a
guild.
secret society again, isn't
It
it?
is a secret society, and they're blocking lawful remedy and they're blocking justice at the courts. And it's right in front of you the way that they do it. The asking your name and everything from before you even get into a court is the first part of that's legal entrapment. That is a criminal offense to unlawfully use these corporate fictitious corporate titles and then trick men and women into believing that is them in order to get them into the court in the first place. It's not even a court.
No, it's
It's
not.
not even a court.
It's just a hired room.
It's the military tribunal.
That's the same with when you go to your council tax courts, isn't it? The council just hire a judge or hire somebody to act as judge.
I think they don't even do that from what I've heard. It's just an administrative office and they just churn out paperwork. But all of that paperwork, and tell you right now that those bills, it's not even a true bill, are to the birth certificate. It's not to you. Everything. So just to get this one clear, so that all of you can get this in your head. Your driver is another legalese term. Driver. You're not a driver. You are a traveler. It's not a vehicle. It's a conveyance. Now, when they send out all of these documents, which are counterfeit documents, are based on the title that was created on the fraudulent corporate title on the birth certificate, which is now on your bank card, on your driving license, on your fraudulent V5 document, on your insurance document, on the taxation forms, whatever they are. I've not seen any recently, but it will be the same thing. Passport and identity services, everything, absolutely everything, and council tax. It's none of it is to you. It is to this corporate fiction.
No, 100%. No,
There is no
I
lawful
understand all that.
requirement to pay it. There's no lawful requirement whatsoever to pay council tax or anything else. And based on the fraud alone, you don't have to worry about all of the. I've heard a lot of people talk about this, especially recently. They're realizing that something is terribly wrong with this system, and they can't quite put their finger on what it is. This is what it is. It's the birth certificate. That is it. You've got to get that one in your head. There is no other. Don't go off down rabbit holes. Find the one document that all this is attached to. It is the birth certificate. That is the fraud right there. It's
Because there
everything
isn't
that's
actually any lawful identification paper that you have, is there? Which is why some people have gone
no.
down the changing their name by deed poll, so they're
The deed
turning
poll
their
is a
name
legal
in.
document.
Yeah, but that's the
Don't do
only
that.
document. That's the only document that will have the King's Court to say who you are,
Well,
and then you can trademark your name as well.
there's a lot I could say there on that one, but let's just yeah, whatever you change your new title, and that's all that you're creating, which is why you've got to use their documents, will just be attached to the same numbers and figures that you are in the background, which will be attached to that same trust. Second, you identify it, whether you can call yourself, it will all be attached in the background to this one fraudulent system.
So, what is the answer?
The answer is to expose these criminals and call them out. Now, in this process, they have been called out now. A letter went off to Amanda Pearson. If you're listening, Amanda, Chief Constable for Dorset, and you were informed You were told of our notice to apply for an indictment by International Criminal Court. You were invited to a meeting to come and to have a chat about this out in the open, as was the General Registry Office, as were the police, as were the councils, the so-called councils, as were social services. You failed to turn up. You ignored every letter. You willfully and intentionally perverted the course of justice in breach of the Criminal Justice and Police Act 2001. You've committed perjury. I could go on and on and on. You failed to turn up for any of these meetings. And you were then also afterwards sent tacit agreement in place, which is an unrebutted fact in law. That's where you're crapping yourselves, because I know a lot of you know that you're read into this and you are in trouble. So if anyone wants to say, did you give them any opportunity? Hundreds. One of the accusations that was made the other mornings was that I'd been failing to communicate or sending letters back. I haven't been sending letters back. I've been sending fraudulent criminal titles back that are not me, the flesh and blood man. They are a fictitious corporation committed through an act of fraud. Crime.
Mm. Well, this is it. Like when the council people send you, we still pay our council tax. That comes out of my wife's bank account, so I don't really have a lot to do with that. But I do keep talking about it. But like these people that do, and they get their letters through in the all caps, they're just sending it back saying that's not me, that's not me, that's not me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that is the correct challenge on this, that I've spoken to so many people since this, and have told me about all the multiple different problems that they've got in their life, and it all comes back down, as I've told them, from what I've discovered and what I've been shown, material evidence. For those listening, material evidence, get it into your head that there is material evidence against you. You will be indicted, you will be tried, and you will be convicted, whether it's now, whether it's tomorrow, it's going to happen. You can't get away from it. The system that they've actually built, it shows that they can't change what they've done. The entire system would have to be changed way back to now in order for them to do that, and they can't and they won't. And there are many things that it seems going on in the world right now that they're all connected to this, which is why certain things are happening in the world.
Like your Keir Starmer and his total obliteration of this country.
This country, Trump, America, they're all in bed. They're all actors by the look of it, just playing along. And it's a bit of advice to anyone out there who, and I've heard people say this, yeah, I know they're all criminally corrupt and so. This is why we voted last time for so-and-so. Just get this into your heads, please. For all of you out there that think that the system is broken, you can see this, it's right in front of you. The system is not broken whatsoever. It's not broken. It's working perfectly. It was doing exactly what it was intended to do. So please stop this retarded swing from left to right. Oh, I voted this last time and they did a U-turn on this and they screwed us over and didn't follow the wishes of the people. So next time we're going to vote over there, and there you'll go the rest of your life just doing this. And you've been doing this for decades now and you've still not learned.
Absolutely.
Two sides, they're two cheeks of the same butt, as my friend says, and it's absolutely true.
Well, like even David Icke has been saying, it's two faces of the same coin, isn't it?
No, that's what it is. They're all in the background. There is another agenda, and this is just appears to be to keep the public happy.
Yeah.
Give them the impression that there's some form of democracy or democratic process, that your voting matters. Back in
just quickly, what do you make of the statement in the interview that Dominic Cummings said, where he basically admitted that they're all actors, they all read from a script, they're all given a script, they all read from it, and it all comes from higher up politicians?
Probably true.
I put a
I mean,
video out on
I
it
don't follow the
the other
great deal of
week.
politics. I know they have there's something they call a whip, that whips them all into
Mm,
into line. I mean, hold on a minute. What are you talking about? Whips them into line. You work for us. We, the public, say
mm.
what happens. And it's about time the public started standing up and saying something. It's not going to change if you vote. It's not going to change if you be quiet. It's not going to change if you sit on your hands doing nothing. You've got to take this fight now to them. Just make them irrelevant. There's no point. Don't stop voting. Stop voting. It's pointless. It's theatre, all of it.
Well, at the end of the day, by voting, you're given jurisdiction, aren't you? You're saying we need to be looked
Yeah,
after.
you're voting in the plebiscite.
And then
You
other
just stop
people
being a
say
pleb.
that by not voting, you're quietly acquiescing, and then so it's such a
Well,
mindful as to why people do what they do.
that is true. You are, but it's time for men and women now to for us. We've got a blank slate, an opportunity, a massive opportunity to create the world that we want to live in, and it's only going to happen if you do it. You've got to get up off your backside and do it. It's not going to happen sat from your chair while you're in your comfortable house. Meanwhile, people are being terrorized, tortured, murdered, genocided.
Yeah,
It's not going to change without you doing something. It all starts with you. Tiniest little action that can make a difference.
be the change you want to see.
Yeah, be the change you want to see. Don't put your kids through those brainwashing centers. Do not register them. That's an interesting point you mentioned about you're not having to register. I looked into this, and they come and they threaten you, and I think the criminal coercion they use is a criminally coercive £1,000 fine, if I'm correct on that. I'm not
Something like
sure.
that. Very much
For
like
not
the
registering.
send what's the thing that you have to do every 10 years that they send you, and they say that you could be fined up to 1,000.
Census?
That's it, the censors. So
Right.
it's all pretty much the same as the TV license, and it. Oh, you could be fined, but it's all fear porn.
It is a lot of it is. I mean, just so that is anyone out there, particularly in law enforcement. First of all, get rid of your Peter and Jane book on law and start learning what law is to start with. Um, uh, Stop
Sure.
committing crime. Stop committing crime. Or where are you running around telling other people what not to do? Stop committing the crime yourself, because what you have done over the last year, a year of sustained torture and terrorism, and that's what it is, and fraud, that you shouldn't be wearing that uniform. No one who is prepared to do that should be wearing that uniform. You should be
No.
beyond reproach. You're the people that we trust.
I think 2020 onwards opened up a lot of people's eyes to what the police are, where they were fining you and arresting you for walking in the park, or
Right.
having do you know what I mean, or sitting down having a cup of coffee in the park. Oh, that's you know, gone with you. That's so totalitarian.
Yeah, and it is. It's right in front of you, all of it, and you just got to ask yourself: be situationally aware. Is this the life that you want? Is this the life that you want your kids to grow up in? Um, Sorry, I shouldn't say kids. Your sons and daughters only use that terminology. Do not allow them to use kids, children, minors. It's not really none of their legalese crap. Um, their language that they use. You can't. It's an interesting point there, actually. Uh, this legalese crap that they use on their forms and the written, spoken, dog Latin and legalese. So if you walk into one of these places, you can hear and see. Many of you have probably watched courtroom dramas, or even been into a court, and you can hear these black robe maggots and the staff at some point talking backwards and forwards to each other. Sounds like English, but you don't understand what they're saying. That's deliberate. That's legalese and dog Latin.
Yeah. On my Patreon page, I've uploaded Black's Laws Dictionary, so people can go over there and download it and study what these words are. I think that was edition 9, so I know that there's more out since, but it's a good starting ground.
Okay, yeah, that's part of where you need to learn. I don't want to go into too deeply now, but that's just a fraction of where you need to look. If you were to literally buy a first edition Black's Legal Dictionary and then brought everyone right up to the current version, and assimilated every single piece of information, you still wouldn't know how and where they've hidden this fraud or understand the legal system.
Mm.
And there in itself, in that alone, should be a little bit of a wake-up call for you. As a man or woman, you shouldn't have to worry about going into these places either to seek lawful remedy, or if you're rightfully there because you've been a naughty little bugger, to still have to worry about the words and the language and the communication form that's being used not being straight common law English. You shouldn't have to worry about any of that, whether it's being used against you. And it is deliberately to trick and trap you
Absolutely.
into
I know
written
that.
and verbal contracts.
I know there are people who've gone into court and said, right, before we proceed, are you speaking English as in the Oxford English Dictionary, or are you speaking in your own terms?
Right. Terms, yeah. Terminology, there's so much to it. The easiest way to as a little an analogy here is that I was shown a little video, and you can get it down more succinctly than that if you understand what they're doing and how they've done it. A man walks into one of these courts, and he's addressed by one of these maggots in the black robes. And he was asked a question, and it ended in "you." Is something you, whatever it was, I can't remember. And the man turned around and literally just said to him, he said, can you tell me what legal definition of "you" we're using today? And that one question caused the entire court to collapse and go into chaos, and he was thrown out and beaten up.
Really? What, literally assaulted?
Literally physically assaulted, beaten up. The court collapsed. The judges, magistrates, whatever they call themselves,
Bankers?
yeah, merchant, right, abandoned the court. The clerk abandoned the court, and that was simply from a simple question: what legal definition of "you" are we using today?
Wow. So what is the
So,
legal, what is you
well,
then?
it's the
You
legal
as in
definition.
like the
Use
sheep?
it, which because he was particularly touchy about it because on one side of it, on the simple side of it, he was sort of saying to this guy, "Oh yeah, all I happen to know about this corporation that you've created on the birth certificates with this mutual fund fraud. Which one are you speaking to, and which one do you want me to identify as?" And he didn't like it whatsoever, and that court collapsed instantly.
God, I don't suppose you know if there's a video on that, do you?
I I'll have to find them. I think so. Yeah, I've
Okay.
got videos that I can show you that are probably going to be more educational than just something like that, because that's just one term.
Hmm.
One term. It's like when you said the terms used. This, I was asked to explain this, and I've had nearly a year to look at this now. I sat down with a group of people, and we were there for nearly 4 hours, and I still only scratched the surface. I could sit here with you and your viewers for the next 12, 24, 48 hours going through it, and it might go in.
Mm.
It might go in. It's that in depth, but it's
Yes.
all language trickery, all of it. And the most important aspect of this is not something that we should have to worry about when we are speaking to our police, who are supposed to be a de jure entity there for us, that are able and intelligent enough to detect and investigate crime.
They don't do that anymore, do they? They just give you
These
a
people are
crime
read
number.
in, no, right. They are read into this. They know, and I know that there are people jumping up. No, 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 they don't. They know. They know. I've got material evidence to show that they know.
Yeah.
Sorry. They know they're read in. It's okay. It's their lives, their families, their money, their salaries. Trust me, I don't give a shit about you
I
or
was
anybody
just
else.
doing my job. Well,
No, yeah,
that's
exactly.
not
And
very
how
good,
well
is
did
it?
that one end in the
Yeah,
past?
exactly.
I was just following orders. I was just doing my job. I don't care. I don't care. And at this stage, after everything that they've done, I don't give a damn whether you're ready or not. You're going down with a ship, pun intended, and I'm going to make sure of it. One last thing that I think is important to mention on your last podcast, you were talking about a document that had been written or published by a Judge Dale. And in that document, he mentions how the birth certificates are grouped together. And I think that's an important um, podcast for people to go and have a look at. Absolutely go look at it through, look at the documents. There are things in there that are accurate, and there are things that are not entirely the truth. Remember, these people have taken an oath. So while they're spilling the beans, so, as he said, on one side of it, there's aspects of his oath that he absolutely, on pain of death, will not break. And that is some of the most important core aspects of it. And it's not mentioned in there at all. So you can tell that he's painfully aware of this, what will happen if he breaks his oath. But there are aspects of that document that are absolutely accurate.
Well, listen, I really do look forward to the next podcast. I really look forward to being able to go deeper into the system and what they're doing to us, and hopefully ways in which we can counteract that. Um, how would you like to do that next time? Would you like to share the screen so you can show documents, or
Yeah, it's a shame that I can't do that in the way that was. I'm going to try and set that up. I can do that. I've tried to get some equipment so I can do this, like this. Uh, Either in most of my business is mobile anyway, so I've got the equips and just bought some more equipment, quite powerful equipment to do that. So yeah, I can do that. That would be the best thing. So then you can actually see it,
yeah,
and because I want to see show you and your viewers what these people have written in their own words.
no,
They don't just
100%.
hide the crime; they tell you that they've committed it.
Mm.
That's important.
That's their
It
karma, isn't it? They
it
have to tell
seems to
you,
be part of the well. If you're too stupid to figure it out,
then that's on you.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Mm.
there's another little tidbit here for everybody when it comes to law. They've actually got in this system of theirs. There is a maxim in laws that are recognised by the courts, and it goes, "Let he who be deceived be deceived." Really?
Mm.
That's something that's recognised and allowed? Really? Isn't that in violation of the 2006 Fraud Act? Surely, if I did that, if I defrauded somebody, and there was a genuine member of law enforcement around and they saw or heard that I do it or got evidence that I'd done it, they wouldn't be very happy.
Yeah,
We'd get penalized for that one.
that's it. Do as I say, not do as I do.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
No.
This has got to come out. People have got to recognize it. It's vitally important that they recognize this fraud, that all of the problems in their world and are because of this, what appears to be this one document. That's all it is. It comes down to this one document. This thing is not you.
No, 100%. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really do appreciate it. I really look forward to
Thank
the
you,
next
Ken.
podcast. My pleasure. And for anyone else watching this, do stay tuned because we are going to do another podcast, maybe a couple of podcasts, given how in depth it is. But until next time, look after yourselves, take care, and I will speak to you all again soon. Bye for now.